call this meeting to order. The roll call.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Doty.
Here.
Commissioner Carwin.
Here.
Commissioner Phillips.
Here.
Vice Chair Sobek.
Here.
And Chair Thomas.
Here.
Ooh, microphones are working good.
I'd like to welcome our vast audience here tonight. And we'll go ahead and stand for the flag salute. Hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have any agenda modifications at all?
No, sir.
Okay, we don't have any presentations. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
What?
We do not.
We do not, okay. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from September 9th. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there's nothing on the consent agenda. Well, let's see.
Yes, sir.
One item, there we go. Okay. Let's see. So do I have to ask if anyone wants to pull it? We've never had a consent item
Yeah,
before.
you can either move approval of the consent agenda or pull it if you'd like to discuss.
Does anybody want to pull this item and discuss it?
What is it?
The item 8.1, the extension of the tract
Oh.
map.
Only had one question concerning that, and that was why is the extension being requested?
Can staff respond to that?
So you're pulling the item.
We'll pull the item to discuss it now. It's okay. Can
So,
staff respond? Go ahead.
The applicant is requesting an extension of time on the map because they have been unable to record it within the initial 3-year period and then the subsequent extensions that were provided by the state. So all applicants with tentative tract maps can apply for up to 5 one-year discretionary extension of time applications. And the applicant has elected to apply for that extension to get at least 1 more year on the expiration date of their tentative map.
So it has nothing to do with any things going on in our relationship as the city with the developer?
No.
Okay, this is another thing then. Okay, thank you.
I have a question for staff. Because of the California extensions that they've given and the years multiplying, how would that affect the traffic study that was done? Would there have to be another traffic study before they build? Because in 13 years, a lot has changed.
I'll go ahead and let Yolanda Macalata answer that question.
Okay.
We actually added a condition wherein they would have to, let me look for that condition number so you can refer to that as well.
Does this also relate to the correspondence we got tonight?
I'm not sure what that correspondence
That's
is
a different
about.
project.
That's a different project.
Okay.
I see.
I'm looking at page 26 of 31 in section 4.
Actually, it does. The one, I'm sorry, one second.
Oh.
The Indian approval of the archaeological and cultural findings condition is a additional condition to this, correct? Is that correct?
Correct. Between the preparation of the staff report and today's meeting, we finalized some conditions of approval with the Pechanga tribe regarding some cultural resources on site. So the conditions that everyone has agreed to is in the memo that's in front of you.
Basically a monitoring agreement, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at condition 182, it says that prior to recordation of the final map, we are requiring the applicant to review the traffic study that was generally approved by the Riverside County.
Just real quick before you keep going, this is on section 2, page 50, if
this
everyone's
is
not there
So
yet.
for the
Section-
first tract map, please see page 49, condition 174.
Okay.
So 174, which is on page 49
Oh.
under tab 2,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Mine is changed.
No, there's 2 tract maps we're extending tonight, so yours is probably correct for the second set
Okay.
of conditions.
Okay, so we're doing 32102 right now or 32100?
32100.
Okay, sorry.
Well, it'd still be on this page here. 49, you were there.
Yeah, so if you look at section, provision 182 on page 50, that's the traffic study analysis.
Right. So condition 174 is actually requiring the applicant to revisit the traffic study that was prepared and generally concurred with by the Riverside County back when this was originally approved, to make sure that it's consistent with
Yours
this.
is different than the one
Oh, really?
It's because we're approving 2 extensions of time for 2 maps. So it's generally the same condition of approval
But
requiring
different
that
number.
the engineering department review the traffic study, determine its consistency with the general plan, and they may have to update the traffic study to city standards. So on the first extension of time for track 32100, the condition is 174 on page 49. And for the second extension of time for track 32102, you have page 50, condition 182. They're basically the same.
That's
It's
correct.
exactly the same.
Right.
Thank you, that's what I
Thank you,
wanted to
Lisa.
make.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
That's
All
what I
right.
wanted to make sure, that it would be updated, restudy. Thank you.
Now, this is part of a specific, the Menifee specific plan, right? Lakes, all this?
Yes, it's within the Menifee Village specific plan.
I noticed, this is, technically, we talked about this beforehand. On both of the resolutions, the last page refers to conditions approval set forth in Exhibit A, but it's marked as Exhibit 1 as an attachment.
We can fix that.
And another question on the additional conditions that were added. It says that they are required to annex into a citywide CFD in lieu of the LLMD. Is that a landscaping maintenance CFD, or is it a parks or combo, or what is it?
It'll be a combination.
Combination.
Open space, parks, water quality basins, trails, landscaping, street lights, street sweeping.
General question here. There was another project that came before council, and the council at first decided to condition the project to be in a CFD, and then they said, no, we're not going to make them. So is this like a general policy that all these new developments are in the citywide CFD, or is it like a case-by-case that's going on?
No, all new projects are being annexed into the citywide CFD for maintenance. We can no longer annex in projects into a landscape lighting and maintenance district or a county service area. So the city has created a CFD for maintenance of all of the public improvements.
Does this cover public safety at all, or is it just parks, landscaping, lighting, and sweeping that? kind
No,
of
the
thing?
city council did not adopt or approve a component for the CFD to cover public safety.
That's what I was referring to. Okay. Any other questions? And since we pulled it, do we go ahead and vote at this time? Okay, do we have a motion to approve item 8.1, the extension of time for,
Do we have to open it up for public comment since we pulled it?
it's not a public
It's
hearing,
not a
right?
public
Okay.
Yeah. So we just need do we need a roll call or just a voice vote?
A roll call, and there's 2 different motions.
two different motions. Go ahead, somebody would like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we extend the time to 2015-159 for tentative track map 32100. Can we do-
Second.
And it has to be separate, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
we have a second, a roll call?
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Carwin.
Is this with the correction of the exhibit number, or do we have to say that?
Commissioner Sobek, will you confirm that it is with the revision?
I'd like to confirm that it's with the revision.
Thank
that
you,
was added
yes.
by Mr. Carwin.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sobek,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Yes. Do we have a motion for the second resolution?
You want to do them both?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion. We extend the time for number 2015-160 for tentative trap map 32102 with Commissioner Carwin's recommendation.
Second.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Carmen,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sobek,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Yes. Okay. So we will move on to item 9.1, public hearing for the change of zone and general plan amendment for 2015-38. We'll go ahead. Whoops, I think we left this open, didn't we, last time?
Yes, we did.
We left the public hearing open, okay. Do we have any additional staff report in regards to this? Okay.
We have Ryan Fowler presenting the staff report.
Mr. Fowler.
Yes, Ryan Fowler here to present the Thornton Avenue General Plan Amendment and Change of Zone. That's GPA 2015-038 and Change of Zone 2015-039. Just for review, the project site that we're talking about is on the northwest corner of Thornton Avenue and Menifee Road, or sorry, Murrieta Road. The general plan land use for the site is currently commercial retail. To the north and to the west is the 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre residential. To the east is the 5 to 8 dwelling units per acre, and to the south is commercial retail. The land use for the site is vacant land to the, sorry, I'm just, this appears to be the wrong. This is the wrong slideshow, so I'll read off the slide presentation to you. So, as background to the project, at the 8/26/15 Planning Commission hearing, the last time we met to discuss this item, staff presented the proposal to change the designation from commercial retail to the 5 to 8 dwelling units per acre residential, based on exhibits that were provided to us. Mr. Sudwick stated that he did not wish to develop the site at 5 to 8 at that hearing, but rather he wanted to develop it at the 8 to 14 dwelling units per acre land use designation. The commission at that time requested that the item be continued for staff to review the previous audio recordings for both the planning commission meetings and the city council meetings to see if there was a specific density that was in fact discussed. So going back to the Planning Commission, April 8th, 2014 hearing, the commission did not recommend a specific density, but rather they voted for staff to process the GPA with the understanding that staff would bring the GPA back to the commission for review and consideration. There was at one point a mention of a density, but ultimately the vote was not on an actual density. A density was not prescribed. And I have, in case there's questions, I have the transcript from that particular hearing in case there's specific questions or you want me to read portions of it. City Council at their July 16th, 2014 hearing, at that meeting, Mr. Sudwick stated the applicant, stated he held a series of 3 community meetings with the surrounding residents. He presented the plan shown at those community meetings in front of the city council. You can hear that in the audio recordings. He stated that the plan included 24 units, which comes out to 9.05 dwelling units per acre. And staff did not receive a copy of that plan, but based on the audio recordings, he shows the plan to the city council. Mr. Sudwick stated before the council that he committed to the attendees of the community meetings that he would not develop at more than 24 units on the project site. And council did not discuss the density of that particular plan, but they simply voted to initiate the GPA to change it to a residential use.
I have a question. When the council said they said initiated a GPA, staff would have had some direction on the density. You don't just do a GPA, you do a density GPA. So did staff assume the 5 to 8, or what took you to the 5 to 8?
We received a track map and plot plan application. The applicant decided to not move forward with that, but to pursue the general plan amendment and general plan amendment and change of zone applications now separately, and put the actual project on hold for now. In all those exhibits, the density would have fallen within the 5 to 8 range. I believe it was about 20 units or something
And
around
that
there.
was what the applicant presented
That was not,
prior to all this?
that was not what was presented
At the council
at the
meeting, but I mean,
council
prior
meeting.
to this, that's what was presented?
Yeah, prior to this hearing and last month's hearing,
Then
yes.
at the hearing, you stated, this is my plan, this is what I've presented to the community, which was the 24 units. Is
Right.
that a correct statement?
Right, and so the applicant actually provided to us in your last staff report, you saw a general plan amendment exhibit and change of zone exhibit, and in the general plan amendment, we had told the applicant, based on, his plot plan and track map, which was at the 5 to 8, that he should prepare an exhibit showing the 5 to 8 dwelling units per acre. So that's how we came to the 5 to 8.
Okay, but my understanding is that he never turned in any paperwork after that, right? It was just verbal at the council meeting?
At the council, he brought a board, he showed it in front of the board, but there was nothing, no, that was not provided to us.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how 5 to 8 got in there, that's all. What brought that, okay.
Well, it looks like now that he's up to 9.05. Is,
So to clarify, the 9.05 is based on 24 units, which is what was shown to city council back in April of 2014? Sorry, city council shown in July of 2014. He showed a plan with 24 units. And he explained that at the community meetings, he had presented this plan to the residents. That 24 equates to 9.05 dwelling units per acre.
okay,
After the fact, after the city council meeting, the applicant submitted plans for a plot plan and track map that included less than 24, I believe 19 or 20, but the 19 or 20 equates to a 5 to 8 range.
And don't worry, we're gonna have you talk. Okay, continue with your,
Let me just jump in right here over the question. This recommendation, the findings of staff, is that based on the 8.1 to 14 or the 5 to 8?
The findings you have in front of you are for the 8 to 14.
So if, for example, he built 14 units per gross acre, would the findings remain the same as they are, as listed in this report? Regarding the environmental impact and all of that stuff?
I plugged in the numbers for the maximum, the 14, and as far as traffic and air is concerned, the traffic actually does decrease from what it is now, the commercial retail land use designation. So in that fact, the impacts will be generally the same, whether it's at the low or the high end, they'll still be less than the commercial retail.
okay.
So at the July 14th hearing, he presented the 24-unit plan. It's roughly 9 dwelling units per acre. And then Mr. Sudwick, he said that he would not go beyond the 24 units. So at this time, before you, you have the general plan amendment, which proposes to alter the project site's general plan land use designation from the commercial retail to 8 to 14 dwelling units per acre residential. And then you have also before you change of zone 2015-039, which proposes to change the project site's zoning classification from 1 family dwellings to 10 square foot with a 10 square foot minimum lot size to multiple family dwellings, which is the R2 zone.
Okay.
And so at this time, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number PC 15220, recommending City Council approval of General Plan Amendment number 2015-038, and adopt resolution PC 15221, recommending City Council adoption of change of zone number 2015-039.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Does the commission have any other questions of staff?
I have one of staff.
Okay.
Ryan, when they mention 24 units, do we know what level? Is it a 1-story, a 2-story, or a 3-story? Is there a limit? Since it's backing
There's
up to
a
houses.
limit in terms of height per the R2 zone. But the number of stories is not necessarily limited by the 8 to 14 dwelling unit per acre residential land use designation.
The zoning would define the heights, right?
So the zoning, yes, the building height is 40 feet is the actual maximum.
What does that translate into stories, the typical stories of, say, an apartment building?
That's pretty high.
That is.
That's pretty
Yeah, you
high.
could do a 3-story with up to 40 feet, under 40 feet.
Okay.
Do we know what the client has planned?
The previous version on the track map and the plot plan that was provided to us that is on hold now, that's based on the 5 to 8 dwelling units per acre residential. So,
What about what was presented, though, at the city council meeting?
well, that was with 24, then that was still a town home style 2-level development.
Level?
So currently, this plot is still under commercial retail, even with our hearing and city council's hearing. The zoning was never changed to residential?
Well, the zoning is residential currently. It's the 1-family dwellings, the R1 with a 10,000 square
Okay,
foot
so
minimum.
we've approved,
Land use is
But
the
commercial.
land use is commercial, but the zoning is residential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That conflict. But the residential zoning is the R1, and the request is to rezone it as R2.
For consistency purposes, to be consistent with the 5 to 8 or the 8 to 14 dwelling units per acre.
Would an R1 designation permit the 5 to 8 that's being requested?
No. The minimum lot size in the R1 zone is 7,200 square feet, so it would not permit what the applicant is currently requesting.
And the lot size that's being requested is what?
I believe they're condos.
Yeah, it's
It's because multiple family dwelling.
and the R1 zone does not allow for the townhome style attached product.
And R2 doesn't come with a minimum lot size because they're multiple family dwellings.
There is a minimum lot size, but when they're doing a condo map, that doesn't come into play because we're taking into account the entire lot.
Right.
So
Is there a difference between condo and townhome? I know down in San Diego there's a difference. I was wondering, does that apply up here in Riverside County?
Yes, from what I understand, you own the airspace in a condo, but perhaps the applicant could provide a little bit more on that. But you own the airspace in a condo, but in the townhome, you actually can own some outdoor space.
Okay.
We'll get into opinions in a minute, but as far as the concern of not wanting to go 3-story because it's so close to other, single-family residential, is there any kind of mechanism? Can we put a condition that it can't be 3-story so that he can keep his density but not go 3-story? What, is there any mechanism we can use?
Well, maybe we can ask the applicant what they're proposing and what their plan is for the property. We're in the process of creating zones that'll match the general plan land use designations, so the maximum heights might change, but in an 8 to 14 dwelling unit acre zone or land use designation, you might expect to see some 3 stories or portions that are 3 stories. Maybe the whole home isn't 3 stories, but a portion is. So we might want to ask the applicant what he intends. And obviously, when the plot plan or tract map comes back to Planning Commission as a hearing item, you'll have the opportunity to review the architecture, the layout of the plot plan and the condos. And when the application comes into the planning division, we will review and make sure that the surrounding residential is adequately buffered and that the height of the proposal is not going to cause problems for surrounding residential. That's something we will do during project design. We don't typically add conditions of approval to general plan amendments or change of zones because there's not really a mechanism to tie it back to the implementing project.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that comment, because there's currently about a 15 to 20-foot retaining wall separating the property from the adjoining neighborhoods. And my concern was if you go too high, then you're going to encroach on the privacy of these adjoining properties. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that will be looked at.
Well, yeah, we'll discuss that in a little bit. So if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and,
Just one quick one. What's
Sure.
the size of the plot?
2.65 acres.
Thank you.
so, okay. Would the applicant like to speak?
My name is Trevor Sudweeks, and basically, the plan that I was looking at trying to make a plan work after the last hearing, and so I had presented one with 21 units, which is still over 8 units per acre. The reason that was a mistake is there was some mix-up between my architect and Ryan. It was a long time ago, and it was just a mistake on the exhibit. I'd like to hear the recordings of the city council, because what I had talked to the neighbors about is that I would not exceed 26 or 28 units. The plan that I presented was 24 units at the city council meeting and to the neighbors. At this particular time, economically, I'm not in a position to move forward with any site plan at this particular time. So I really am not sure, I really don't have anything in particular in mind. Once the zoning's in place, then I'll move forward with trying to come up with a design that buffers the neighbors and makes everyone happy.
Now, we'll talk about this later, but I'm a believer in, good faith bargaining here. And so the report says that you presented 24. Were you saying you verbally said 26 to 28?
That I wouldn't exceed. It was either 26 or 28 units.
24 is what physically was on the
I
board.
put together a concept plan with 24 units.
And how many levels?
They were 2-story.
2-story.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were to approve this as is, what if something was to happen, you were to sell the property? Would it be able to stay at the 2-story level
Well, like you
with the
said, our
40?
only mechanism would be
if it comes?
the architectural review. We could slam the hammer down there.
I want to thank you for meeting 3 times with those neighborhood residents there.
More than that.
More than that. But you really have worked with that neighborhood, and that just shows that you just really care about the city of Menifee and bringing in your quality project here. So I want to thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. And it'll be a quality project, but, at this time, I'm not don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet, but it will be a residential zone use.
Okay.
I have a question of the applicant. So, based on your, musings on the property, is it possible to turn in a viable, profitable project at the 5 to 8 units per zoning?
No.
Why not? Because if it can be if it can
cost
happen
of-
at 9, why couldn't it happen at 8?
Right now, I can't even make it work at 9. So,
So what you're saying is, and I want to make sure I understand, because I want to know what we're deciding on, the inadvertent board you presented to council with the 24 units on it that was 9.05, if that had been approved by council, that still wouldn't have been able to be a workable project.
not today, not right now. But I'm hoping, you know, if the economy picks back up in another year or two, that it will be.
So if the economy, I don't know what kind of numbers you're looking for in the economy you're projecting, but you're telling us somewhere 27, 28 total units. Is that the project that you're kind of dreaming about for this property?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to look at other things down the road too. I think there's a need for, some maybe some retirement, elderly, assisted living, or some type of maybe step up across the street. There's a lot of elderly people in homes, and I'm just going to look at other options within.
Does your vision for this lot include a self-contained apartment building type project?
No.
So that's not part of the consideration. So
No.
if we work out something that prohibits that doesn't squash your
No.
dreams on this property.
No.
Thank you. 'Cause that's what I'm trying to avoid, is a big apartment building there in the middle of this residential neighborhood.
I like your idea of possibly a senior facility there. Perfect.
That's what
perfect-
I'm kind of starting to
perfect
think
area
now.
for that. And I believe there's some kind of bonus or something the city gives. I've read something in one of our reports. I don't know if it's the city or, I don't know who it is, but I remember reading something that there's some kind of credit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I kind of think that, that would go well in that area for
Would.
that particular
It would.
project, is kind of, where the people that live around there in the, across the street, where they would go to next, a little smaller unit that's more maintained, maybe a staff person on that if people need medicine and things like that. So I think I'm kind of, before I was thinking I could maybe do young families with the 2 stories and the townhome, and I'm kind of thinking now I think there might be more of a need in Menifee for something for the elderly.
So what kind of density would be needed for a senior
Retirement home?
retirement home? Now, you're talking SNF, skilled nursing, or like residential, senior residential,
Somewhere in between the two.
between the two?
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of density would be needed for that? And is it an 8 to 14, or to make that happen? Have you penciled it
Well,
out?
if I came back with that, I would meet with the neighbors about the concept of the senior living center, and
I don't think you'd have a problem with that. Just trying to think, realistically, what your density would have to be, and I'm thinking
I'm kind of hoping that maybe it could be left open a little bit if I did do some type of senior center with senior living.
well, the impacts are much lower on senior housing than on, say, a young family.
But that's really the way that I'm leaning more towards at this point.
It's a good lot for that.
Okay,
Yeah, I think there's a need for
There
it.
is a need.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sedgwick's.
Do we have any public comments or testimony on this?
I have no speakers on this item.
Okay. Then if there's no other questions at this point, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:33 and take it to the dais for further discussion. I have a couple thoughts in this, but I'll go ahead and, Commissioner Doty, what do you have, some thoughts or questions or comments on this?
Just in general, I'm not a big fan of general plan amendment changes since our GP is so young. But at the previous meeting, we had the homeowner who lived directly behind it who was very passionate about changing the zone. So even though I'm not a fan of changing it, I understand going from commercial use to residential use, and then I believe Mr. Sudwick has done a very good job portraying that to the neighbors. And if he said he had over 200 signatures, I believe, from the neighbors, so I think that's worth it. But, in general, I'm not a big fan of changing the zoning in the GPs, but
Is it 4 times a year you can do it? What's the limitation?
It used to be 4.
4 times a year. Okay.
But I think the applicant's done a very good job communicating with the homeowners, so.
Lisa?
Well, I know Mr. Doty wasn't on the commission when we heard this first last year, when it was proposed as commercial retail. And the room was packed with the residents in here. And so Mr. Sedgwick's really went back and worked with that neighborhood. I think he's making a good alternative proposal here. And I think it's a good change for that, especially on Thornton there on Marietta, where you've got 55 and older on one side of the street, and then you have family residential right adjacent to it. And it's a good compromise. And it is needed here, the senior living.
Commissioner Kerwin?
Here's where I'm stuck. I know that the residents around there really want residential rather than commercial, and I think that makes a lot of sense. The problem is that for a person who owns the property and wants to develop it, I think that the residential development that the neighbors wanted isn't the same vision of the residential development that the developer wants. So you're stuck between people not wanting high traffic and not wanting the lights and not wanting the commercial, between somebody who's got a right to develop their property and turn a profit on it, which is a basic land use right. So I'm stuck between maintaining the land use right and protecting the interests of the property around it. It would be my presumption, and I wish we had public speakers from the neighborhood on this issue tonight, because this is a really important one, whether we go to R1 or R2. My presumption, based on the documents that I've read and the testimony we've heard, is that the people around there were expecting change from commercial to residential of a similar character to the one that they live in, so it fits in the community. And I'm seeing nodding heads over there. So they expected it to be like where they live when it went from commercial to residential, not realizing when they said if we go from commercial to residential, we can get a much larger residential density. I don't think they anticipated that when they asked for commercial to be changed or when they supported the request for change. So my leaning on this case would be I'm fine with changing it from commercial to residential, but forget, be careful what you ask for. I think it would need to match the surrounding density, and making it R2 rather than R1, I think, would be a mismatch in the property. And the applicant has just told us that he doesn't know if he could turn a profit on that, so that's where we're kind of stuck. But from a land use, from a city planning perspective and matching the property and matching the desires of the community, I couldn't transfer this from commercial to residential and then make it an R2. So I'd say...
We're voting not on R2, though. Be careful. We're voting on the 8 to 14, the land use designation, not the zoning. So
Well, yeah, but the 8 to 14 would violate the R1s because you couldn't do it. So we're not calling it R2, but in reality, that's what it would end up being, because you simply couldn't put an 8 to 14 density on an R1 property. And the 8 to 14 density, and here's where I'm particularly stuck, Mr. Sowick, I hope you're understanding that I'm not against you here. If there was a way to say 9.05, yeah, it's just over the 5.5 to 8, but it's just enough that's a compromise. The problem is that if I vote for this thing to the 8 to 14, and you sell the property to somebody who isn't making as good a faith and effort as you are, who's not as in touch with this community, and they say, woohoo, score, I just scored a 14 density property, then we're stuck with that person and not you. And we can't hold you to that because you have land rights and you can sell or develop it however you want. So the only way I think I could approve a change from commercial to residential would be the 5 to 8. And if he sells it, let that applicant come in and ask us to raise the density. We can have a hearing on that. But based on the way this is what the residents of the area wanted, I couldn't approve this request for an 8 to 14 density. It's just too dense for that neighborhood based on what the residents were saying in their hearings. And it's nothing against the developer. I think he's doing a fantastic job trying to deal with the community. But we're stuck with these ranges that we can't put a 9 limit on it. It has to be 8 to 14 or 5 to 8. So I'd say I could only approve this thing at 5 to 8 as a residential. Otherwise, I'm going to say no.
Mr. Phillips?
I heard what he said, and I'm looking at the idea of the 24 with the 9.05 as being feasible and up until tonight profitable. The other problem that I had was I don't have a problem with you going to R2. I don't have a problem with that at all. And so I'm inclined to vote in favor of that. The idea of bringing up the senior alternative, that was a pleasant blindside. I like that. And I sincerely hope you pursue that to where it would be a win-win situation for everybody concerned. So that's really my opinions and findings on that matter. I'm sort of in favor of the R2.
Okay. I'll address Commissioner Kerwin. I generally would agree with you on most cases because I am the low-density guy. Problem is we have a problem child parcel here. If he could have combined it with this property to the south on that, but that's not going to work out. So we have a problem child.
Infill.
Yeah, it's an infill. And this is the problems you deal with infill. I believe, though, that going from the commercial to the residential is a bonus for anybody. You guys do not want a AM PM there. You do not want a liquor store. You think your problems would be bad with apartments. It'd really be bad. So going to residential is a good thing. I'm also a believer in good faith bargaining. He presented a plan at the city council meeting that was 24. You were done by not getting things in writing and getting this all solidified. But you did, in good faith, talk to the community and you presented a plan. I believe that the city needs to honor that. You don't want to be known as pain in the whatever, commission and city for business. That's not a good thing. So I did a calculation. Even if he built 28 units to this parcel, it would still only be 10. It would be 10 density of 10 units per acre. So my only concern is the 3-story thing. And if we have the hammer we can use in the plot plan design and architectural approval, we can stop that. So this is a problem child parcel. I think we should approve the 8 to 14 and get it away from commercial. We got to balance property owners' rights with the community, and I think this is the proper thing to do. So,
And I truly believe that this is better for the health and safety and well-being of that neighborhood to go this route.
so any other comments on this before we take a vote? Concerns? If that's the case, do we have a motion for the first resolution?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number PC 15-220, recommending city council approval of general plan amendment number 2015-038.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Take a roll call.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Carwin,
No.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sobek,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Yes. Do we have a motion for the second resolution?
Make a motion to adopt resolution number PC 15-221, recommending city council adoption of change of zone number 2015-039.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Carwin,
No.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sobek,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Yes. We'll build us a senior home or something nice. It will be. Okay. Okay, that
And
moves
Mr.
us.
Sedweeks, let me just say, I want to make sure you understand, I'm not voting against you. I'm voting against the next guy. Okay, good. I've given you a hint as to where I'd vote if this thing came up with a real plan.
Is it fun being a lone wolf? Everyone's there sooner or later, trust me.
Yeah.
Confederate Army hat.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Put your big boy pants on
You
tonight.
would,
There
you would
go.
bring that up.
Get the
Okay.
commission thought on solar farm in Menifee.
Wait. Okay, we'll have to, is he talking on this item?
No,
Was this general public comment?
sounds like it.
can we go ahead and, when should we do this? I'm a believer in letting everyone speak. When should we legally do this? Can we interrupt the agenda, modify
You can
slightly?
interrupt the agenda briefly if he wants to address the
Okay,
commission.
let's interrupt it. Go ahead, sir, and state your name and your. He'll fill out a slip afterwards. We need it for the record, okay?
Okay.
And what's your name, sir?
Nathaniel Tran,
Hold on, let me get to the page where I can write this stuff down. Nathaniel Prack, okay?
Can you spell that last name?
Tran, T-R-A-N.
Oh, Tran, okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to get the commission idea on the solar farm. Currently, it seems that Menifee considers solar farm to be commercial, but I think it should be on the farmland because technically it's a farm using the land, using the sun, and it's especially useful here since a lot of land don't have access to water, and solar farm doesn't need much water except for washing the solar panel. And if we leave those land bare like that, it's just going to get hotter and hotter and become desert-like. So it's not environmentally friendly to not have solar farm on those farmland that cannot really have access to water for actual farming.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then we'll go, if there's no other public speakers, we'll go ahead and move on to item 9.2. This is the minor change of the tentative track map. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, we have Ryan Fowler presenting the staff report tonight.
Okay.
Once again, Ryan Fowler here to present McCall Mesa. It's minor change number 2014-204. It's the second minor modification to tentative track 31098. The project is located south of Rouse Road, east of Palomar, west of Menifee Road, and north of McCall Boulevard. And you see Heritage Lakes cutting through the site as well. The project site is currently vacant. However, it does have an entitled approved track map, the track map 31098, which allows for 264 single-family units. To the property to the north is vacant land. To the south is the Boulder Canyon Elementary School, as well as a 260-unit apartment complex that's not approved, but it is currently in process. To the east is the Heritage Lakes development, single-family residential. It has 6,000 to 7,200 square foot minimum lot sizes. To the west is vacant land and one 10.5 acre single-family lot with an existing dwelling. And to that east in that vacant land, or sorry, to the west in that vacant land is the 235 acre approved track map with 543 units approved. The existing zoning for the site is R1. To the north is industrial park and manufacturing service commercial. To the south is one-family dwellings, R1. To the east is the Menifee Valley specific plan, and to the west is one-family dwellings and planned residential. The existing general plan land use for the site is 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre. To the north is business park and 20 to 24 dwelling units per acre. To the south is public facilities where the school is located and 8 to 14 dwelling units per acre. To the east is the Menifee Valley Ranch specific plan again. And to the west is 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre. So what this minor change 2014-204 proposes, is the second minor change to the previously approved tentative track map. It has, under this proposal, 258 single-family residential lots. They would range in size from a minimum of 7,200 square feet to a maximum of just over 15,000 square feet. This reduces from the previous approval, from the first minor change, it reduces the number of units by 6 lots. This would also consolidate 2 smaller park lots. There was a 2 and a 1.8 acre park, 2 separate ones. This track map combines them and enlarges it to a 6.5 acre park. And that'll be shown in an illustration later. That park also includes on its north side a water quality basin. The internal street configuration is slightly realigned to accommodate that 6.5 acre park. There's a second open space water quality basin that replaces that smaller second park on the former plan. And there's a third water quality basin on the project's westerly boundary. And all these will be shown in an exhibit. And lastly, this minor change proposes perimeter block wall modifications to lessen the visual impacts of the block perimeter walls, specifically on the southwest corner of the project. And that'll be shown as well. So this shows the tentative track map. I've highlighted in red kind of the key points. You can see the roads on the north, Rouse, east is Menifee Road. Heritage Lakes goes through the middle of the site, takes a small jog. Junipero cuts through the middle, and Palomar's on the west. The large 6.5 acre park is labeled park. It's right in the middle. And then there is a grassline channel that takes the flows from the south, and then it bends to the west and then comes out on that western boundary. And you'll see there's 3 basins, water quality basins, pegged up to that grassline channel.
Quick question in regards to that. My understanding there's a up to maximum 4-foot wall that's going to be surrounding the grassline channel. Is that correct? That's what I read in the plans. It said 4-foot wall.
If we can.
Actually, on the big map you gave us.
Maybe we could have the applicant look into that and confirm it, and Ryan can continue the presentation.
Okay. Okay.
As background to this, track map 31098 was approved by the County Planning Commission in 2005. And the first minor change to that track map was later approved in 2006. And what that first minor change did was it reversed the direction of the dwelling units. They were facing out towards Rouse, Junipero, and Palomar, and then they were flipped to face internally. So that way the backs of the homes were against those more major roads. And it put a perimeter decorative block wall around the perimeter of the site. So this minor change, the second minor change, would consolidate those 2 parks, as I mentioned, and create 3 water quality basins. So on the bottom left, you'll see the previous version, highlighted in orange, is the 2 smaller parks. They combine to make one 6.5 acre park that you see in the upper left in orange. And then the 3 water quality basins are shown in the yellow. Also, the original and the first minor change didn't include community trails along Menifee and Rouse Road. Now with our new general plan and under this second minor change, there's an 8-foot wide DG trail that is proposed to be located along Menifee and Rouse Road. There's a cross section of that in this exhibit. And I mentioned the wall in the southwest portion of the site. Under the previous approved track map, there was a 10-foot retaining wall that you'll see in the upper left under that DD section. That includes, so like I said, it's a 10-foot retaining wall, and then, of course, then you'd have to have a perimeter block wall on top of that, so another 6 foot. So you'd end up with essentially a 16-foot block wall under the previous tentative track map. So this track map, you see the arrow going to the right, what it changed to under section CC. We've attempted to stagger the block wall and kind of terrace it up, and then where there's view opportunities, where the track abuts more open space and not the elementary school, they have a 5-foot view fence. And then it's sort of staggered, so you have a 4-foot retaining wall, and then a 6-foot retaining wall, and then the view fence. So you, instead of ending up with a 16-foot wall, you've kind of staggered that. On the bottom is those on the bottom two sections is where the property abuts the school, the elementary school. Same situation, the previous map had a 16-foot wall when you combine the retaining wall plus the perimeter block wall. What we've done in that case, you can't necessarily do the view fence because of privacy and noise next to the school, but we've attempted to stagger it at least to have 4 feet and then the 12-foot wall instead of one 16-foot wall. Also, under this new plan, under this second minor change, the open space and the perimeter landscaping, the drainage channel shown in red, will all be maintained by the CFD, citywide CFD. You see in the green is the perimeter and side yards that will be maintained. The orange is the park, the yellow is the water quality basins, and the red is the grass line channel that conveys the water through the site.
On the plans, you had Riverside County Flood taking care of the channel. You're taking that away, and
I'm sorry, they're maintaining the channel, but the landscaping within there's a trail and landscaping that will be within the grassline channel that will be maintained by the CFD.
Is there an HOA connected with this project?
It will be CFD
It
maintained.
will be CFD? Okay.
Well, it's also on that note, the basin, I don't know the yellow, most upper right one, call it the EC of the curve. The plans call out basin to be maintained by City of Menifee.
Yes, by the City of Menifee CFD.
Okay.
As for the environmental for this second minor change, staff reviewed the previous the environmental document, which was an environmental assessment on the original track map. The first minor change was exempt under that initial environmental assessment. This modified map results in a reduction in the number of lots, which lessens impacts, namely air quality and traffic. The proposed modifications to the map do not prompt the need for a subsequent environmental assessment. So based on staff's review, all impacts were analyzed under that original EA for this second minor change, and the previously prepared EA is still accurate and acceptable.
I have a question about that. I remember when we looked at this project, I requested that this site has an historical legacy of being farmed, and it's kind of near one of these areas that have been alleged to be a dumping ground for biosolids and sludges. And I remember we wanted to have a limited phase 2 to specifically address biosolids and Title 22 metals. Now, it's my understanding that was included in the water quality management plan, or is that something that will be included elsewhere? Because I didn't see it in conditions of approval.
Phase 2 is currently not a condition of approval of this track. It's a standard requirement to have in the appendix of a water quality management plan a phase 1 study, and then if that phase 1 indicates that any additional testing is required, there would be a phase 2, but I don't know if there was a phase 1 in the water quality management plan that we have now. So we can ask the applicant, has a phase 1 been conducted for the property, and any additional phase 2 testing?
We might hear about that from somebody else. That was the reason why I had requested it before, so that we could kind of circumvent those allegations being made.
You can ask the applicant if they want to prepare one, or if that would be added as a condition of approval.
That would be something that could save you a lot of heartburn in the long
go ahead and
run.
make that when we do the
Okay.
discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Rob, if you don't have any questions.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
So moving forward to the reasons for staff's recommendation for approval. First off is Community Services Department Director prefers the one larger park just based on the fact that the two smaller parks are higher maintenance costs And the larger park allows for more flexibility in terms of sports fields, sports types uses. Also, the trails on this new plan are included on Rouse Road and Menifee Road. On the previous version, they did not have trails. The water quality requirements are being met under this new track map design. It has a better wall design on the southwest portion of the site, as we showed. The applicant has accepted the conditions, and that will include putting the open space lots under the CFD to be maintained. And then also, based on the 6-unit reduction, there's lessened air quality and traffic impacts. So overall, staff believes that the modified design is superior to the original, and we recommend approval. So at this time, staff is recommending you adopt resolution number PC 15218, finding that no additional environmental review is required based upon the findings and conclusions incorporated in the staff report and resolution. And we adopt resolution, or in that we recommend that you adopt resolution number PC 15219, approving minor change number 2014-204, subject to the attached amended, which we'll see in the memo, which if there's questions about that, I can also address. Subject to the attached amended modified conditions of approval for tentative track map number 31098.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. If there's no other questions of staff, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 8 o'clock. Was this properly noticed, Jen?
Yes, sir.
And do we receive any correspondence?
No, sir.
In regards to this? Except we do have
That's the memo that Ryan talked
the
about.
memo in regards to the additional conditions prior to recordation of the final map and building permit issuance. This one here. Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Eric Flodine with Strata Equity. I'm here to answer any questions. I think Ryan's done a fantastic job summarizing the project. We worked with the staff for over a year on this minor modification, so I think we've covered everything, but certainly here to answer any questions. I don't have a presentation to give this evening.
Does anyone have any questions of him at this time?
Just Title 22 and biosolid investigations. Are you amenable to that? And I'm talking extremely limited in focus, mainly because of the cost, but I'm looking at avoiding any kind of repercussions for you developing in on land that has historically been used for farming. Those issues may come up.
I would encourage that as well as a good faith move. Are you familiar with the political issues going on around sludge in here in this city?
Is that a pun? No, I'm kidding. Commissioners, let me go ahead and address that. We have other projects in the area that happen to be in the county, and so I'm familiar with going through that process with the limited phase 2. I'm sure our phase 1, which we did do because we do it for every project that we purchase, did talk about the historic agriculture on it. It's still a dry farm today. If the commission's preference is for us to prepare a limited phase 2, basically related to pesticides and that sort of thing, we would be amenable to that. My only ask would be that it become a condition. In my opinion, it seems most applicable prior to grading permit issuance. If you haven't disturbed the dirt, then you don't really have the issue.
That's
So
reasonable.
we would certainly be amenable to that.
That would bring a lot of goodwill to the commission, I think, and to the city as at large, and in that, it may even be a selling point, because that is a big issue around here, and you've got a lot of homes and a lot of kids, and I think it would be admirable if you did that, and I would be amenable to not having to do it until grading if you're not going to disturb the dirt, yeah.
And if I could just add a little bit to that, he's actually conditioned to do a limited phase 2 study. It's in the condition from Public Works. It's just not specific that it tests for biosolids.
Okay.
That's the metals
And it
and the
is prior to
biosolids.
grading
Right, the
permit.
metals and the biosolids. Now, one of the things about it, there is a difference between a focused environmental subsurface investigation and a limited phase 2. The difference being how you approach it, how you design it, and the cost. A focused environmental assessment, particularly in the subsurface, is going to be a lot cheaper than developing a full-blown phase two. You may want to talk to your consultant to get the numbers on that, but I think that a more cost-effective approach would be to do a focused rather than a limited. A focus would be specifically what we would like to see so that we can add to our comfort zone as well as your prospective customers and all the activists who have this as a concern. So I would strongly recommend you consider that.
Okay, sir.
I don't know whose idea it was. You said you've been working with staff for the last year, and I want to commend you on building one large park. And I believe it is superior to the original. We need parks here in this city. We need soccer fields and softball fields, and this will make it much easier to have those amenities. So
what can we get, like 2 soccer fields on that? What can we get on there?
I think they'll bring that back to us when they're ready to do that, but I'm anxious to see, because this is great. So if it was staff or if it was Strata, thank you.
Other question, the grass-lined channel, that is basically for the volume water that's coming off of the west side. Is that right, Ryan? Is this like
West and south.
west-south? So is it going to be like the channel over here across from Lowe's, or is it going to be a fenced, no-access kind of channel?
Have you seen the one in Heritage Lakes?
Not off the top of my head.
It's a beautiful walking
Okay.
to sail.
Is
So
that what this is going to,
I was wondering
is
if
that the
that was-
intent of this one?
I'm going to have our engineer come up and address
That'd be
that.
great.
Because we've gone through a couple iterations, that's why I'm,
Yeah.
Sure. So if you look at the section of the channel, which is, yeah, it's on the lower center of the map that you have. It'll basically be a grassland channel, and then it'll have the access roads on either side of it, and then a very small retaining wall to hold up the residential pads that are also running along there. And then there will also be a multi-purpose trail that's
In the
gonna-
middle of the channel?
No, on the upper side. So
On the upper
there's
side, like a DG?
Yeah, so
walking trail?
there's the channel bottom, some subtle slopes that come up, and that's all grass lined. And then up at the top, there's access road and a DG trail.
Okay, okay. So it's not meant to be a enclosed kind of a
I
open
mean,
view?
it'll be enclosed just because of the fact that there's gonna be residential lots on either side, and those lots are gonna want privacy to their backyards.
okay.
But it will be, it'll
Access.
be wide and accessible,
Accessible.
yeah.
And another question, my ignorance on water quality, not water quality, but water flow. If we have a channel going through the middle of the project, which is amazing to me, why in the world do we have basins, collector basins?
The runoff over there.
I mean, yeah, but you've
You
got.
have to clean the water before you put it in the
Okay.
water.
Okay, okay. That's,
Figure that one out.
there you go.
Yeah, that area has a,
Sad, okay.
that area has a history of having a lot of standing water persisting for several months after the raining season.
Isn't this up a little higher, though? This is
No, this
down.
is actually
It
downgraded.
goes
It,
down.
it, it,
Slope.
it actually slopes to the northeast. And so, having driven through there during rainy periods, I was really hoping that you guys had some kind of a fix for where you're gonna put all that water. And this looks like the best
Mine is.
alternative. Now, how are you connected with, the RCFD projects? The flood control district? They
Line A.
put in line A over there. Are you plumbed to that for extra runoff?
So I assume you're talking about the Line A that runs in Junipero Road?
Right.
So basically what we'll be doing is we'll be connecting that line into the channel that we're constructing. So the small basin that's over by the school it'll be put underground into pipes and then run northerly on Junipero, and then it'll connect into the grassland channel and continue west.
Okay.
So line A is gonna dump into the channel?
The other way around.
What's
It's
that?
the other, I think it's the other way around.
Actually, the flow from this development is going north and then west, and it crosses this street. I think this is Junipero. So there's a culvert that will take the flow from the development into line A2,
Oh, okay.
which
Okay.
is on the west side of this development. Then A2 goes north and connects to the main line A.
Okay,
Okay.
And A2 right now is actually almost complete.
okay. How big are those culverts, if I may ask? The 32 inch?
I don't recall.
Not sure.
You want to be able to hold the water without creating a mini wetlands for mosquitoes.
Well,
like
it's
we have
supposed to
over
be
here.
big enough to handle 227 CFS because
Oh.
that's the estimated amount of flow at the inlet at Junipero, or
Okay.
Junipero, sorry.
Yeah,
So it's big.
okay.
Could you
Thank
state
you.
your name too, please, for the record?
Sure, my name is Jennifer Gillen.
Thank you.
Yolanda, is there an anticipated completion date of line A and line A-2? They have a lot of conditions tied to those.
Right, line A-2, which is actually where this channel is going to connect directly to, is almost done at this time. Line A, the one that comes from 215 all the way to Briggs Basin, has an estimated completion date of April 2016. Then the portion of line A from Trumbull Road going to the west is already built.
Okay, yeah. that's-
So,
Yeah, because it's just conditions say they can't grade until the plans are approved and bonded, and then they can't have occupancy till those drainage facilities are functionable.
right,
Just
they're
wanna know-
actually, right, and that's a very good point. They're actually conditioned to build line A2. It's in their conditions, but most likely A2 would be in before they come in, hopefully. And certified by FEMA. Because I don't believe they can connect unless it's certified by FEMA.
How did FEMA get into this?
It's got a blue line going through it.
Ah,
Is that why? No?
Flood zone. It's a zone
yeah, it's the
X.
San Jacinto,
It's a zone X, so they have
Yeah.
to, FEMA's gonna
Yeah.
have their say in it.
Yeah, because line A2 is part of a big floodplain, so the whole project line A is subject to FEMA's letter of map revisions.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant?
Is the applicant on the new condition, the
Agreeing.
traffic signal design?
Yes, ma'am, we agree to that.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't know if it's more for the applicant or for staff, but on the Edison easement, or the Menifee Road cross-section through the Edison easement, there's a retaining wall, or the masonry perimeter wall goes through there. Is Edison okay with that wall going through their easement, and then basically the backyard of the homes being part of that easement?
They actually received a non-interference letter from Edison, so Edison looked at that. So normally, as long as you're not building a house structure within that easement, they should be okay. Fence is all right, and that's what Edison stated in their NIL letter or non-interference letter.
Okay, as long as Edison looked at it, just,
Yes,
a
they
masonry
did.
wall kind of surprised me sitting in the middle of the easement, so.
No, actually, that's a good point. That's actually what delayed this a little bit because we had to wait for the applicant to provide that information to us.
Okay. If there is no other questions, then is there any public testimony in regards to this?
I have no public testimony.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:13. Is there any further discussion by the commission? If having heard none, then we'll go ahead and, do we have a motion to approve the resolution with the amendment that, the additional condition that the applicant will perform the Phase 2 biosolid, or what did we call it? Focused?
yeah, focus site.
Focused Phase 2
Yeah.
assessment. Someone want to make a motion?
Oh, God. Yeah, I move that we we adopt resolution number PC 15-218, finding that no additional environmental review other than what was discussed this evening and agreed upon, and based on the findings and conclusions incorporated in the staff report and resolutions.
Do we have a second? Did you quote PC 15-218, because we do them one at a time?
Yeah, I just did
Okay.
15.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Carwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Vice Chair Philbin,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Yes. Getting all emotional, huh?
No, it's just.
I'll tell you what, I'll do it
age.
for you. I propose a motion to adopt resolution number PC 15-219, approving the minor change number 2014-204, subject to any further conditions put on by the commission this evening.
Second.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Carwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sobek.
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Yes. Okay. So do we have any, we don't have any discussion items. Lisa, do you have any comments or anything to share with us tonight?
Nope.
Then do commissioners have any comments on their activities tonight or any other future items to agendize?
I'd like to point out the City of Menifee Birthday Gala on October 3rd.
Is that at the
Audie Murphy,
Audie Murphy Ranch?
7 to 10. $25 a ticket and $45 for a couple. 7 to 10 Audie Murphy Ranch.
Very good.
And October 24th at Audie Murphy Ranch, there is the city's Halloween harvest. And it's going to be for families. There's going to be a movie in the park. There's going to be trick-or-treating. There's going to be slime for the kids to make. And be a lot of fun things to do from 4 to 9. I'd like to know where everybody's going to park. That's been a concern of mine.
I'd like to add that this coming Tuesday, we're going to be having a spirited discussion on the new city council members, and I'd like to encourage everybody to show up and voice their endorsements for the candidates for recent city council meeting seat. And I think that's there was some discrepancy as to whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I believe it's Tuesday, 6 to 9. Refreshments will be served. Oh, this is at Menifee Lakes?
Menifee Lakes.
Menifee Lakes Country Club. So I'd like to get everybody to come out and support whoever their candidates are.
Wonderful. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.